sure I have all my... oh, I need one more tab. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm back stateside, just enjoying my little vacation. So, live and in the flesh, it's your boy, Slick Diaz, your favorite fighter's favorite meme lord, here in the MMA Attic, on MMA Attic, on MMA Island, bringing you the solo session. It's not called the solo session anymore, but still, intense. That's what it is. It is the solo session of Slick Diaz, but it is now called
the Scrapbook.
Have like a cool effect that pops up, the Scrapbook. But yeah, so this is the Scrapbook. This is the new one-man show on MMA Attic that I will be... Ideally, I'd like to release these on Sundays, but for now, it is... I think it's Tuesday, not even sure. But yeah, welcome to the Scrapbook. I'm happy you've joined me. So this show, I don't know how long it's going to be, but ideally what this show's for is I'll give you kind of a news flash of what's happened in the last week of MMA news. This last week was a really big news week, which is why I figure I don't really cover news as much as or at all in any of the podcasts. So I figure I start, telling you what big themes happened this week, like if there was a retirement, a spoiler alert, or an official retirement, as well as, what fights that were booked this week, what fights are canceled. So those little sections would be called Scraps Booked and Scraps Bonked. I know y'all like that one.
Bonk.
What is it? You're mad casual for somebody within bonk distance, bro.
Bonk. So yeah, I'll go through like the big news items, then go through what fights were booked, what fights were canceled.
We'll get into, a quick preview of last week's card. Well, maybe I'll do that one first. I'm not sure. And then based on last week's card, we will move into Scrapbooking, which is where Slick Diaz, plays a day in the life of Sean Shelby every week and tries to, figure out what's best for the considering the current state of the division for the winners and losers of all the cards on the main event or main card, all the fighters on the main card. I can't English, even though that was like one of my best subjects. Tells you something, but. Yeah, so we'll do some scrapbooking, and then I guess at the end we will round it out with the community questions from both Instagram and Twitter, from the Slick Diaz Army. So yeah, I guess let's begin as far as news flash is concerned. Maybe I'll slow it down.
News flash.
So I guess the biggest news for this week, well, it depends on who you ask, is that Khabib Nurmagomedov is officially retired, according to Dana White. Dana has raised the white flag on trying to convince Khabib to come back right now, as far as him retiring after his bout with Justin Gaethje, where he submitted him. I've got a lot of thoughts on that, but all the best for Khabib, and hopefully he finds. It sounds like he's found purpose in what he's got going on next as far as being a coach, and that's something that's really awesome. So I know we're bummed, but maybe one day we'll see him come back for 30-0, but that day's not soon. That day's not now. And if he's done forever, he's done forever. And it was an awesome career. So one of the greats for real. So salut Khabib, and happy travels, man. I'm excited to see you coach Luke Rockhold. Even though I'm not a Rockhold fan, I might be if he's coached by you. So, because Khabib's watching my podcast, right? Hi, Khabib. In other news, the lightweight title. Well, in the same news, the lightweight title was vacated. So we'll get into the lightweight picture in a moment. But yeah, with Khabib officially being deemed retired by the president of the UFC, the title is now vacated after so many months of him just sitting on it. He retired, but UFC was like, you're not retired. So yeah, UFC 260 this week loses a title fight in Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. It's a huge bummer. But yeah, that card loses a title fight. As far as, fights booked for this week, fights that were booked this week and in the news and scraps booked, we've got Evloev versus Dawodu for UFC 263, a really interesting stylistic matchup. Evloev, super talented prospect. Dawodu, as real as it gets in the octagon. That kid is mean, and he means it. Usman versus Masvidal 2, the rematch is set for UFC 261 in the span of time since they fought. Kamaru Usman went on to defend his belt versus his former teammate Gilbert Burns and had one of the performances of the year so far in early 2021, whereas Gamebred is kind of sitting on the sidelines and a lot of people are upset by him getting a title shot, but not me. Gamebred season 24/7, 365. One of the many paths in this life I choose to walk is the path of Gamebred. So I will be picking him. If you know anything about Slick Diaz, that won't shock you. But if you're new to the program, get with the program. Yeah, I'll be taking Gamebred, the Gamebred fighter, the one and only Mal Pacino. That was my original nickname for him, like in my head, like a Mal Pacino, like real bad man Scarface, but in real life he cage fights because he was doing the whole Scarface thing. But then I decided that's probably better suited for an alter ego or an alias on the pod. So now one of my co-hosts is happily, and I happily refer to him as the Gamebred Spy. So, yeah. Gamebred Spy, Mal Pacino. I kind of lost track of my thought there, but that's what I meant. Masvidal Usman 2. For the gold again, without a 5-day notice, 6-day notice. So should be exciting. I know everyone's going to be, it's a foregone conclusion. Well, let's see what happens, right? Eubanks versus Rosa set for UFC 263 on the same card as Evloev and Dawodu. Alan Patrick versus Mason Jones is booked for June 5th. Mason Jones came out and put on one of the fights of the year so far in his UFC debut. So you want to go check out his UFC debut. It was a fire fight. It was beautiful. That's set for June 5th. Ricardo Ramos and Bill Algeo set for April 17th, which is kind of a bummer for scrapbooking because all the time I find myself booking someone with Bill Algeo. So for the next couple, or until April 17th, I have to lay off of that. So, maybe only a month, a little less than a month. So I'll make do. It's okay, Bill. Go fight. We'll hold it down over here. Punahele Soriano versus Anthony Hernandez is set for June 26th. So Punahele Soriano and Anthony Hernandez are both coming off huge wins. So Punahele was fighting another up-and-coming, undefeated prospect, Dusko Todorovic, and he absolutely dusted Dusko. It was nasty. I'm a big fan of Punahele Soriano. Was really rooting for him big time in that fight, even though I like Dusko as a prospect as well. But yeah, he handled business. And then Anthony Hernandez in his last fight earlier this year, one of the submissions of the year, he subbed the black belt hunter, Rodolfo Vieira. He submitted him. So that was a really big deal. So Hernandez, I'm sure, is feeling really good coming off that win, and it should be a scrap. I will be taking Punahele Soriano, though. That's my guy. So that is set for June 26th. Cody Garbrandt versus Rob Font is set for May 22nd as the main event. That is either for a title shot or for number one contendership. So that's a really big fight. Both of them coming off of huge finishes as well, just like the previous fight. Rob Font coming off of finishing Marlon Moraes, and then Cody Garbrandt back against the wall, shot from the hip, last second knockout of Rafael Assunção. Just gorgeous. Just gorgeous. Sorry, I just had a moment there. Yeah, so that is set for the main event on May 22nd. Earlier that month, a fight is booked for the return of Thrillashaw, Killishaw, Dalla Billishaw, TJ Dillashaw. He's coming off of his 2-year suspension, basically about as long as the kid's been like a real, true, active MMA fan. Dillashaw's been suspended. I mean, I saw him fight live once, and then he got suspended. So, yeah, what are you gonna fucking do, right? I'm not really a fan of him, so I will be rooting for Corey Sandhagen, but I do believe that it's a very, very good matchup, and it's a great fight because there's a lot of backstory. We'll get into it, but yeah, that's set for May 8th. So a week or two before Garbrandt and Font toe the line. So that lightweight title that was vacated. There's a scrapbook for that, and it's Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira, which is kind of caught a lot of people by surprise. A lot of people were expecting it to be the Dustin Poirier, Conor McGregor 3. The trilogy would be for the belt. Honestly, it makes most sense promotion-wise. But, I think that these are two top guys, and seeing them fight for the belt should be great. And then we will see what happens after that, because I'm excited for the trilogy a little more than Oliveira versus Chandler. I can't lie to you. So, yeah. Another fight that was booked on UFC 262 on May 15th was Jack Hermansen versus Edmund Shabazzi, and both of them coming off of losses. Jack Hermansen lost to Marvin Vettori, the Stallion. I know he's the Italian Dream, but I know the Italian Stallion, you can't use it, but Marvin Vettori, the Stallion, that's my, that's what I think of him as. Marvin Vettori makes me feel things. Anyway, yeah, and then Edmund Shabazian got, absolutely handled by Derek Brunson in his last fight out, so they, it's just, this is a really fun fight. It's just kind of intense because both of these guys are really promising in the division. So we'll see. The last scrap that has been booked, as far as I can see, that is new news this week is Ariane Lipski versus Montana De La Rosa. That's a cool fight. That's going to be happening on June 5th. So yeah, those are scraps booked. As like Christmas is past, scraps booked. That didn't make sense to anybody else except me in my head. That made sense, but never mind. So now we'll move on to fights that have been canceled recently. In this section called Scraps Bonked, it's much quicker. But Whitaker versus Costa. Costa pulled out due to an illness, so Whitaker will now be fighting Kelvin Gastelum in the one of the fights that got away. We'll now be seeing that fight for presumably. I don't see how Rob wins that and doesn't get a title shot, but if Kelvin wins that makes everything really confusing. So, yeah, we've got last weekend we had Dontel Miles get pulled off of his fight with Tai Tuivasa, and Harry Hunsucker replaced Harry Hunsucker. Harry Hunsucker. Tai Tuivasa had a fun little exchange about that pre-fight, so you should go watch his pre-fight interviews. They were very funny. I've got some good clips from them. But yeah, also last week Gillespie versus Riddell was canceled last minute, and Avila versus Stoliarenko was canceled last minute. Julia Stoliarenko, former tough competitor, she fainted and collapsed twice on the scales. It was really, really worrying to see. So hopefully she recovers, she gets healthy, and her team figure out how to remedy that error or, remedy that problem. So, yeah. Then this weekend, like I said, UFC 260 loses a title fight between Alexander Volkanovski and Brian T-City Ortega. That fight is no longer happening. I don't know if I already said that or not, but yeah, those scraps have all been bonked. I guess I can give you a little preview of what happened last weekend. We'll just do a quick run through of the card. I usually take too long on these run throughs, so I'll try to speed run it. Bruno Silva taking out one half of the Bays Bros, JP Buys. JP Buys and his wife were both making their UFC debuts together after making splashes on the Contender Series, and Bruno Silva said, "Not today, not in my house." Bruno Silva coming off of fights with really tough dudes like David Dvorak and what's that dude's first name? Or I always mix the... Hold on. Ooh, y'all are like, dude, you're so stupid. It's this guy. And Ulan Bekov or something. Hold on. Bruno Silva record. Goodness gracious. Dude, if Mal Pacino was on the show, he'd be having a heart attack right now. He's like, Tagir Ulanbekov. Let's see. Tagir Ulanbekov. The kid nailed it. Yeah, so he's coming off of 2 losses and a no contest with Khalid Taha in his UFC debut. So he gets his first win in the UFC over JP Bays. Tough night out for the Bays family. And then, next on the card was... No. Okay. Excuse me. Sorry. Next on the card was Montel Jackson versus Jesse Strader. Montel Jackson, a quick night at the office, really living up to his nickname, with a good finish at Jesse Strader, but then just seemed so unenthused, like he didn't even care in his post-fight interview. And while that's all fine and good, like, handle your business however you want, but I just, like, it was a good finish. Granted, like, people don't really know who Jesse Strader is, but Montel Jackson's been on a streak, so I think that as a fighter, this is just my opinion. I'm not trying to give advice to fighters, but I think that if you are getting these finishes and you're living up to your nickname and making splashes, like, I think that a lot of people still don't know who Montel Jackson is because he just, I don't know. I think that if he'd have just shown like a glimpse of humanity or personality in his, and he did kind of smile at the end. So that I was like, oh, there he is. But yeah, he just seemed kind of like, he knew he was supposed to be there. He knew he was supposed to get the job done. And I totally get that. But I don't know. If you want the fans to buy in, you got to buy in a little for yourself. So that's my opinion. But Montel Jackson, great finish over Jesse Strader. Next, Trevin, Giles, and Roman Dolidze putting on a great fight. It was fun to me, man. Roman Dolidze, I scored it for him. He's one of my favorite fighters. So I guess I kind of course I did. But yeah, Trevin Giles getting the decision over Roman Dolidze over 3 rounds. Them boys were throwing. They were tired, man. Next, Leonardo Santos versus Grant Dawson. This fight was strange. It was a strange booking. 41-year-old Leonardo Santos, never been beat in the UFC, versus Grant Dawson, up and coming, 16-1 at the time. Yeah, to my eyes, when I was watching the card, I thought Leonardo Santos was winning the whole fight, and then boom. Last possible second of the fight, Grant Dawson hammer fist KOs him into a different dimension. Mouthpiece flies like Thor's hammer, comes back. It's right there. It doesn't come back. That was stupid. But yeah. So it was brutal. I thought Leonardo was definitely winning, and then it comes out after that Grant was up 2-0 on the judges' scorecards. So just kind of a crazy fight. Grant, this super unassuming kid, and then he comes out and, kind of proves to me, because going into the 3rd round, I was like, man, this kid kind of doesn't got no gusto going into this 3rd round where he's clearly losing. Like, he just was like, okay, I'm going into this, and then, man, he proved me wrong. It's just like some people don't really show their emotions. Like, they really don't. And I have no clue about that. I show every thought I have on my face. So, yeah, Grant Dawson really getting the job done with one of the knockouts of the year, in my opinion. Really, it was crazy. So if you haven't seen it, I suggest you watch that fight in its entirety, however you can. because it's well worth it. Next, we had Macy Xiaozong getting a decision win over Marion Renault. She really turned it on and looked good in the second half of the fight. So really good showing for Macy Xiaozong. To open up the main card, we had Tai Tuivasa, Shuivasa, Louis Bagvasa taking on Harry Hunsucker and dispatching of him in less than a minute. A couple really hard thudding leg kicks and a couple punches got the job done. Tai Tuivasa looked great in the less than a minute we saw him. One of the heavyweights that makes me like heavyweight. There's not many, but he's one of them. Adrian Yanez, my boy, bro. My boy Adrian Yanez getting the job done over Gustavo Lopez. Gustavo was talking a little shit, just like everybody does leading into a fight. But me and Adrian Yanez go way back. So, no, we don't go way back, but a little back. And he probably doesn't even know, he definitely doesn't even know my name or who I am really. But, we were upset. We were upset in the Yanez camp online because we saw this dude talking who is he beat? Who is he beat? And it affected me more than Adrian. I was screaming at my TV who have you beat? Who have you beat? What are the names on your record? All respect to Gustavo Lopez at the end of the day. Nice guy, warrior, he's tough as nails. But Adrian Yanez went in there and finished him, got the job done. Made my night. It was incredible to see Yanez perform at such a high level and get another sick knockout again. Kid's the truth, and now everyone's hopping on the bandwagon, and I couldn't be happier. Usually, I'm really defensive of what I'm a fan of and don't know. Hey, I'm a hipster to this. I sip my coffee before it was cool, but sip. Adrian getting it done in spectacular fashion. Call him Mr. Knockout. Mr. Knockout, if you're hearing this and your boy, it's your boy, Slick Diaz, and all of us over at MMA Island, on the MMA Isles, we were talking and, we just think that there's always going to be a spot for you on the team. When you finally decide to jump in, the water's fine in the MMA Isles, bro. It was meant for you. We welcome. Just come home, Adrian. Come home. Join the team. We all love you. We all have for a long time, bro. Come on. Adrian Yanez for president. Next, we had Montserrat Ruiz versus Cheyenne Bays. Second half of the Bays Bros didn't work out too well for her either. Montserrat Ruiz headlocked her for 15 minutes, and then some post-fight antics ensued where it looked like Montserrat Ruiz maybe got in her face and yelled, "Puta!" Or she got in her face and spit in her face. A lot of people there was some conjecture and some, what happened there on Twitter and social medias. So just, that's of note. Cheyenne Bays came out after the fight and, kind of backed that up and said she did spit on me. But, I don't know what happened. Montserrat Ruiz gained a lot of fans on the Twitter sphere. I noticed a lot of people tweeting live, when she walked out, they were "Oh, I'm in love with Montserrat Ruiz," or Montserrat Conejo. And Cheyenne Bays, a lot of people think, I don't know. It looked to me like a lot of people, or she did. It seemed like she just made some people angry for some reason. I don't know. It's weird because she said that she was training for Montserrat Conejo's last partner. She was training with that girl. And so she was simulating being Montserrat. And she was yeah, I'm pretty comfortable with all these weird, grappling throws and stuff she's going to do. I'm pretty sure that I got the bases covered, basically is what she said in her pre-fight interview, her interviews in Media Week. And then Montserrat kind of took offense to her saying, I can defend all her stupid headlocks and stuff. So, they went out and, Cheyenne Bays got absolutely bullied. And a lot of, she made a lot of people upset because she said, "I'll follow you home, bitch." And people were "Oh, Bays, blah, 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 you're a sore loser." It's Whatever, man. I'm still a fan. Yes, I'm still... Montserrat, even though she just headlocked her for 15 minutes, kind of a fan now, too. It was cool. Next, Song Kanan gets just demolished by Max Griffin in the first round. I don't know, man. I definitely picked this fight wrong. Max Griffin with a career performance so far. So, well done to Pain. What's on the menu? Pain. I don't think that's how the quote goes, but the A-team or whatever. And in the main event, I mean, a lot of people really upset at the end of this card because Kevin Holland just talked the whole fight, got his ass whooped by Derek Brunson. Blonson versus Trailblazer. Brunson did what he needed to do. It wasn't the most exciting Kevin Holland fight we've ever seen, far from it, but Brunson, just further established himself as, one of the guys in middleweight that is among the elite, or among, you gotta, that, he's past the precipice. So I think that Kevin Holland will take this and learn from it, but Derek Brunson's going to get something big. And yeah, Kevin Holland talking the whole time made people upset. I liked it. I don't know. I hope he comes back. I hope he improves on his mistakes, and I hope that he learns from this, but I hope he never changes. I hope next time he gets his ass beat, he's talking too, because that's just who he is. But I don't think he's going to get his ass beat for a while. I think he's going to come back, learn from his mistakes, and put on some good performances for us soon. I'm a big Kevin Holland fan, so this weekend was rough for me, but we're here. We made it. So I guess since we have quickly covered UFC last week, we can dive into scrapbooking with Slick Diaz. Sometimes this is on MMA Mathematics, but I think for this podcast, it kind of fits better because it just allows me to brainstorm a little bit, and then I can verify it with my co-hosts on that show later. But let's get into some scrapbooking. I haven't done this in a second, and I didn't do any homework or notes, so it may take a little bit, but hopefully it won't take that long. Let's do the heavyweights first. Tai Tuivasa and Harry Hunsucker. Let's go to rankingsmma.com. Rankingsmma. Oh, nope. Rankings. Wait. I know my hair looks wild, y'all. I'm sorry. I'm real sorry. Oh, it's just, I got it cut yesterday and it's still super oh, what are we doing now? So I got to figure out what I'm doing with it. But rankingsmma.com, yeah. I don't know why it took me to this weird, never mind. So heavyweights, yes. Tai Tuivasa, late notice over Harry Hunsucker. What can you do? The guy said he's okay with his brand. He's bashing people's heads in and drinking piss, beer. But Tai Tuivasa, man, one of my favorite characters in the sport. Come on, let's load this page. It's 2021, y'all. Come on. I have fiber, bro. Come on. So interesting. A lot of heavyweights booked. I saw some people talking about Tai Tuivasa, Greg Hardy, and I'm into it, but I think Tai Tuivasa is ranked much higher, so it's not really worth it. Tai Tuivasa, where do we rank him? How is Fedor 27 in the world rankings? That is just ridiculous. I'm looking for a fun fight for Tai Tuivasa. And no, I'm not booking him versus Tom Aspinall. How about... God, this is tough. Y'all are gonna hate me. I think he's not even coming back to 265, but I was about to say give me Gus. There's a few. I guess Sergey Spivak would be fine. Sergey Spivak would be fine. There's Walt Harris is booked. That sucks. That would be a good one. Andrei Arlovsky. I don't know. There's a few options. I mean, this one actually is pretty tough. There's not a clear one. And as far as Harry Hunsucker goes, let's see if we can find a fight for old Harry. You know, why not? If this will ever load. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Come on. I'm disgusted. Okay. UFC rankings. Come on. Come on. Today, Junior. Excuse me. Wish we had some like elevator music. I could press a button and go do 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 do. Fuck it, I'll go to Tapology. This is not worth it. Yeah, Jesus Christ, right? Worldwide. Heavyweights, yes. So let's find... Oh! Tai Tuivasa versus Chris Daukaus would be fun, too. Don't say I didn't warn you. Blagoy Ivanov, I guess, but he's on a 2-fight losing streak, I think, so... Reams cut. Did Arlovsky get cut? I don't remember. But, who are we? Oh, yeah, we're booking for Harry Hunsucker. Because that guy he's got the bag now. He's got the contract. So let's find him another fight. Oh, come on. Where is he? Oh my god, dude. Just the website I always use just isn't loading for some reason. Ugh. Yeah, y'all see this weird setup I got? I have like a tiny desk. It's like in these cabinets that I have, but there's a space where my laptop fits and my legs can go under it. So this is like my little desk. So I can like, when I'm really focused, I put my head up on this. It's good times. Good times. Let's get to the heavyweight rankings, y'all. Okay. Oh, God, we're going to spend all day trying to get Harry a fight. Oh. Come on. Jesus Christ. Okay. No fight for Harry, apparently. What is next? Oh, yeah. Next, we got Adrian Yanez and Gustavo Lopez. Let's open up the Bantamweight rankings then. Oh, my God. I'm going to scream really loud. I'm going to scream. Oh, well, for Yanez, Nate Maness and him have called each other out. And Nate Maness currently has a fight booked, but if Nate Maness wins, that'll be the scrapbook for Adrian Yanez. Bro, my internet's just like, ha, oh, what? Oh, it's my day off. I'm not supposed to work today. Okay. I don't know why the Proud Family song popped in my head. Okay, here we go. Bantamweight rankings. Come on. As far as Gustavo Lopez, I mean, kind of I think he's definitely a really good guy in the division. He's hung in there with some of the best wrestlers, you know. He stood for almost 3 rounds with Yanez. Like, he's really good, but all right, this is just ridiculous. Tapology Bantamweight rankings. Sorry, it's just like y'all gotta work with me. It's just how it is. That's how this show goes. Elite women's changes. Okay. Bantamweight. Yes. Okay, so yeah, that's a fun fight for Adrian Yanez. As far as where's homeboy at? Where's homeboy? Oh, maybe they haven't updated this yet. Oh, Henry Cejudo's 59 on their world rankings. That's fire. Right above Ray Borg. Gustavo Lopez. Okay. Yeah. I guess. What about Ronnie Lawrence? They're right next to each other. They might want to book Ronnie Lawrence up in the rankings, but you never know. He could also fight. A fun fight, I think, would also be Heili Atang, the Mongolian Knight. And then, yeah, Jonathan Martinez would also be a fun fight. I don't know if they fought before, but let's see. I don't think so. Yeah, so I'd say Jonathan Martinez, Heili Atang, or Ronnie Lawrence would be cool. Next fight, we got Song Kanan versus Max Griffin. So let's go over to welterweight real quick. Welterweight. Number one, Kamaru. We're in the right place. Okay. So Max Griffin, did he call somebody out? I don't remember. But he's got to get a pretty decent fight coming up. So Max Payne Griffin. Ooh. I guess I need to pull up the real rankings too, just in case, like, I list somebody and y'all are like, what? He's listed way higher. I'm like, oops. Because I'm looking at, non-official rankings because they're more inclusive. Nah, it's going to take too much time. So Max Griffin, coming off 2 TKOs. What about, like, Ramazan Ameev coming off 2 decisions? I'd say that's a fun fight. Ramazan Ameev or, like, Lyman Good or Chaos Williams. What about that? Bro? That one's fun. And then for Song Kanan, let's go to page 2. That's never a good sign. No, there he is, right there. Song Kanan. Diego Lima's already booked versus Matt Brown. That's fun. I think Song Kanan could fight, like, Laureano Staropoli, or like Takashi Sato. What's up with that? That seems pretty cool. Or Danny Roberts, even coming off a win, but lower in the rankings. Yeah, let's see. Next ding, we got, Derek Brunson versus Kevin Holland. So Derek Brunson called for the Paulo Costa fight. That's really interesting, right? I'll take it. And with Kevin Holland, he said he's going to go down to welterweight, right? So let's see. Let's see where we want him. Page 1. I mean, because come on. I think him versus, like, Ponzinibbio or, someone in that range, like Ponzinibbio or Zaleski dos Santos or, I thought Rude Boy was booked. How about Tim Means? That would be a really fun fight too. So, yeah, I like all those fights. Those are just what I see is what I say if I think it makes sense. Nicholas Dalby would also be a fun one, but I don't know if he's still in the league or not. He should be, coming off a win. Yeah, so Kevin Holland wants to move down to welterweight, and I think it's a fine move. So, yeah, I guess that's scrapbooking for the week. We'll cover it more on MMA Mathematics later in the week with Game Bred Spy, but for now, that's my take, and he'll probably not like it at all. But yeah, so we've covered so far the news of the week. We covered scraps that were booked this week, scraps that were bonked this week, and then we made some. We booked some fights or booked some scraps ourselves. For what happened last weekend, and I think that is a pretty fun way of doing things, kind of involving yourself in like, ooh, what do you think should be next? I think it's fun. So yeah, we covered Holland versus Brunson. I guess I could give you a quick preview of next weekend's card, and then we will get into the community questions and call it a show. This is this scrapbook. I still got to get used to it because I almost called it the solo sessions. But UFC next weekend, UFC 260. I wanted to do a segment. Maybe I'll figure it out and do it next week, where like we kind of focus and spend some time, like some real time, talking about the prelims and the undercard, because I find myself getting. We might do that on MMA Mathematics instead, but I really like focusing on the young, like the lesser heralded, the people who are fighting on these undercards. Like on this early prelims, you got Miranda Maverick, Shane Young, Omar Morales, Abu Azaitar making his return, and then we've got Modestas Bukauskas versus Michael Oleksiejczak. Was that even close? I hope. But yeah, so Modestas, great fighter, and Jillian Robertson as well. So yeah, we got Modestas versus Michael, we got Jillian versus Miranda, Shane Young versus Omar Morales, and Marc-Andre Barrial versus Abu Azaitar on the early prelims. And then we got Jared Gooden versus Abubakar Nurmagomedov, Habib's cousin or brother, or I forget. Is it his brother? No. Wait. Maybe. Notable relatives. Okay, let's see. For once and for all, is it like his cousin or is his brother? Oh, yes, they're brothers. And they're also related to Shamil Zavurov. So, yeah. Abubakar Nurmagomedov making his return after getting submitted in round 1 by David Zawada. Disappointing performance, but hopefully he can, make this comeback against, who is it? Come on. Yeah, am I short? Oh, Jared Gooden. Jared Gooden, 17-5, taking on 15-3-1 Abubakar. It should be good. Then we got Jessica Penne coming back against Hannah Goldie. Should be fun. William Knight versus Alonzo Menafield. Something crazy really could happen in that fight. Like something nuts. And then on the main card, we've got Jamie Malarkey versus Kama Worthy. Something wild also will happen there. Sean O'Malley, Thomas Almeida. I'm scared for my life. Tyron Woodley versus Vicente Luque. Hopefully a body gets caught either way. I am a huge Vicente Luque fan, but seeing Tyron make like a I'm not done yet statement would be really cool. And then we got Stipe Miocic versus Francis Ngannou 2, the biggest, baddest rematch in all the land. Heavyweight champ of the world versus heavyweight conqueror of worlds, Francis Ngannou. So let's see if he can get it done versus the firefighter from Ohio. Most people are assuming that Stipe 50-45 again, but I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things to unpack about it. But for this show, I don't really want to dive in too much. I want to do more preview stuff and just general stuff, and then we'll get into the specifics when I'm like much smarter co-hosts. But yeah, that's what UFC 260 next week is looking like. And the week after that is Till versus Vettori. So we got a lot of fights coming up. Got a lot of good fights coming up. But yeah, I guess we'll get into the community questions, then call it a show. We should be able to do it in, keep the show under an hour. We'll see. But we'll do Twitter first, and then we'll work our way into the Instagram community questions. And yeah, that'll be that. So first question is from Jack Zampio MMA. He says, how do you think Dillashaw will handle Corey's length and versatility? That fight is super interesting. But I don't know. I mean, Dillashaw makes his name off of being versatile and creative, and but Corey's one of these next-gen guys, and I think that his versatility might, cause a lot of problems for Dillashaw. The length, I don't know. I think since they've trained together before, I think TJ Dillashaw is going to be able to come up with something to, as far as fighting a taller guy. But I don't know. I'm kind of leaning Corey. Yeah. I'm a big Sandhagen fan, and I mean, I could go on all day about Dillashaw, but I won't. I will say I'm excited to see him back, even though I'm not a huge fan. Yeah, I never got that, tuning in to see people lose. Not, I'm not tuning in to see him lose. I'm just tuning into, because even though I don't necessarily like him, I recognize he's really one of the great fighters. So, excited to see him back. Uncle Frank MMA asks, who you got in Oliveira versus Chandler and why? And Meek Mike MMA says, is Oliveira being slept on versus Chandler? I'll kind of answer both of those together. So, I don't know if Oliveira is being slept on versus Chandler. I think that, me personally, I view it as both of these guys can truly beat the other guy. It's a matter of what happens. So I don't think just because you pick somebody doesn't mean you're sleeping on the other guy. So I guess it's kind of up to you and your perception on whether you think Oliveira is being slept on versus Chandler. I don't know who's the favorite. I don't know what the odds are, but I will be probably picking Chandler. But that doesn't mean I'm sleeping on Oliveira. It's just how I kind of see it going. I kind of have a hard time picking olives, even though, I got a basket and the trees are right there, and I'm just joking. Is it bushes? No, there's olive trees, right? You get a branch, an olive branch. Never mind. Yeah, I don't know if he's being slept on, but I'll be taking Chandler. I think it's kind of crazy to think that he's going to be a champion one fight into his UFC career, or two fights, I guess. But yeah, it's happening. So yeah, I'll take Chandler just because I think that I think the intensity he can bring and impose on Charles Oliveira, if Oliveira doesn't, slip something in, I think it could be a really long night for Chucky Olives, or Charlie Olives. Do you believe Charlie Olives can't make the weight? I do an awful Dan Hooker, but next. MMA Mindset says, who do you think would have won between Brock and DC? Really obvious answer, by the way. Haha. I take DC, and it is obvious. Team question mark Chenko, who is the next prospect Brunson will beat? So, put some thought into this, and I don't think Brunson's getting a prospect next, but I think if Brunson, maybe even if he picks up a fight in his next fight, gets another win, and then maybe he, drops one or two after that, and then Brendan Allen picks up a couple wins, I think I could see that being the next fight where Derek Brunson is fighting a prospect. I don't know why, but this is a very specific question, and I like it, so I kind of had to, craft something. So, Brendan Allen. Pickpocket asks, which fighter's wife would be most likely to beat up all other fighters' wives? I don't think you thought this question was going to have such an obvious answer, but it does have an obvious answer, and it's Nina Ansaroff. Nina Ansaroff, bro. Yeah. Let's get to the Instagram questions. Ben Plum asked a few good questions, so I'll answer them in a row, and then we've got 3 more after that, or 4 more after that, and then we'll call it a day. So Ben Plum says, how do you fix the judging problem? Should they stop using the 10-9 system, or should the control and damage be redefined so that these crazy scores stop? I don't know about the 10-9 must system. I think you need much smarter people than me to figure that out. But I do think it's kind of dumb and archaic that we're using a 10-9 must system that is used for boxing, which is very... Look, boxers aren't one-dimensional. They've got very wide skill sets within their sport and craft. But compared to a sport like mixed martial arts, boxing is very one-dimensional. So to use the scorecard template of the sport that is only a fraction of what makes up your whole sport has never made sense to me. I know a lot of people just like are familiar with the 10-9, so it was just the easiest way to do it, but I don't know. I think we definitely need to redefine the rules a little bit, to make things much clearer, if we're not going to get a whole new scorecard system, which I don't think we will. So next question is, can the weight cut problem be fixed? Because right now, if fighters start to fight at their normal weight, they'll still be fighting against opponents who cut weight. Does the UFC have the ability to control such a large roster and hydration test them enough as would be needed? Very good question. I don't have the actual knowledge like of the scientific factors to really answer this too well, but I do think hydration tests and drug testing, more strict drug testing should be, like, the weight cutting shit is bad, man. I think that we need to make efforts to have these fighters fighting as healthy as possible, or being as healthy as possible. So I wouldn't mind if we started doing hydration tests. And I know we kind of had to do the COVID stuff, but those COVID tests were super expensive, and we were giving them to everybody involved, everybody who was at these events for months and months while it was like one of the rarest things in the world, the COVID test or whatever. I don't know if y'all remember when it was rare and nobody could get it, but I do. So yeah, I think that the weight cutting issue is a serious problem with lots of factors and branches, but I think we could afford it if we really wanted it, in the UFC at least. So, as far as the women's divisions are concerned, I would like it if the weight classes kind of shifted and opened up on both ends of the women's weight classes, because I know we can't find a lot of 145ers, but in the division, like in the space that exists right above 145, there's a lot of competitors who just can't make it down to that. So I don't know. I'd like to see a shift in the women's weight classes to where it opens up to like the lighter and the heavier, so we have more of a broad talent pool in the UFC. And I just think there's a lot of really talented 105ers all around the world, and I just think there's a lot that could be done promotionally with shifting the weight classes that would benefit the women's weight classes and have them like stand out on their own instead of being like women's bantamweight versus like bantamweight or men's bantamweight, I guess. Like I don't know. But that's something that I think about a lot. Let's see. Sorry, last question from... I just kind of spaced this out really poorly, so it took me a second. Stressed me out trying to find it. Right now, low calf kicks are a popular trend that you see a lot in fights. What do you think the next trend, popular move that is heavily implemented by top talents, do you see coming into the sport? Yeah, the calf kicks have become really popular. But I don't know. I think that there's a lot of things, like this sport's so young that when something catches on, it catches like wildfire. If I had to guess, I'd probably say Montserrat's headlock. That'd be pretty cool. Everyone just started headlocking everybody. Yeah, really good questions. Thank you for those, Ben Plum. No Name MMA Show asks, out of all the recent matchups announced, which one that isn't a championship bout are you looking forward to the most? So I guess I will just go through these next few cards and pick out which fight I'm most excited for. O'Malley Almeida is really exciting. Yusuf versus Allen is crazy. Oh, Mike, it's definitely Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez, 100%. It's Mike Perry versus Daniel Rodriguez. Yeah, that is my answer. Let me go one more card just to, it's Whitaker Gastelum, and then, ooh, that Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Crute fight is also something I'm stupid excited for. So, yeah. Dude, I wish my hair would just stay put. And Sandhagen versus Dillashaw. Man, they got a lot of... Oh, it goes all the way to Font Garbrandt, but most of these cards aren't filled out. So, yeah. I'd say that probably Perry versus Rodriguez. I'm just super stoked for that. I like both those guys. Both of those dudes are just super exciting in the octagon. Jack Sturdivant 2059 says, I have question, brother. Why you dak kebab? I never ducked kebab in my life. I'm the only man that has ever taken an O away from him. And I did it twice because he said I didn't do it the first time. So I did it again. 29-2. I only come here for smash these guys. Kebab is scared of me, not the other way around. Let that be perfectly clear. I know you're watching this, Kebab. You know the deal. Kane710 says, what do we do with Francis if he gets dominated by Stipe again? If Volkanovski beats Ortega decisively, does the UFC do Max versus Alex 3? What do we do with Francis if he gets dominated by Stipe again? I guess the heavyweight's weird like that, man, especially because Stipe's so dominant. I don't really know, but I mean, maybe he fights Cyril Gane. I don't know. If Volkanovski beats Ortega decisively, does the UFC do Max versus Alex 3? I think they have to, even though it's weird. Kill Casuals says, what are your predictions for the upcoming 5 championship fights, or 4 since Ortega-Alex fight is postponed in the next 2 months? Depending on your picks, how do you see each of the 5 divisions playing out? Let's see if we can speedrun this. So, we got Stipe versus Francis. I've been leaning Francis, but now I'm leaning Stipe. We'll see. So I think that kind of, I don't know what happens to the heavyweight division after that. I really don't. I don't know what happens at all. What other title bouts? Oh, okay. These 3. Oh, this is a triple header. Okay. So we've got Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. I'll be taking game bread all day because that's how I was raised, you know. Zhang Weili versus Rose Namajunas. I don't know, man. It's a tough one to call. I might take Zhang Weili. I really might. I don't know, though. Valentina Shevchenko versus Jessica Andrade. I think it's going to be another day at the office for Chevy Chanks. I'm not really concerned, even though Jessica Andrade's a super dangerous fighter. I think Shevchenko is just one of the best in the world. And Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. Like I said, I'll be taking Mike Chandler, and I think the next thing will be Mike Chandler versus the winner of Poirier versus McGregor 3. So, yeah. I guess that is it as far as the community questions go. We're running at 59:14, so we did pretty good timing-wise. It was take 2 of the solo sessions this week, or the scrapbook this week. But yeah, I appreciate you joining me. This podcast is brought to you by MMA Island, Fight Picks, and all of the contributors and the community of listeners and commenters and likers and, sharers, everybody that makes this podcast possible. I appreciate you. Let's keep it rolling. Slick Diaz Army, MMA Attic, MMA Island. You know the deal. Peace. Thank you, guys.